Bang! Guys, what's up? It's your boy Chuckles back at it again. Welcome to the Extreme, your weekly update of hot things, hot topics, and more. It's I already said my name. I'm Chuckles. We got the usual Chili, and we have everybody's favorite Grumpy Grump Techie Tech guy. We have Ryan. So Ryan,
what's going on, guys?
They kind of know you, but for those that might not, kind of tell them about yourself. How long you've been playing Airsoft, what you kind of do.
All right.
Do that.
So for those of you who do not regularly go to Extreme, I'm Ryan. I'm one of the techs that works down at Extreme. I also work in the field, and I work in the store, and I work doing whatever Lenny tells me to do. I've been playing Airsoft for probably close to 12 years now, I think, give or take. I think I started as like a sophomore in high school, so it'd probably be about 12 years at this point. And much like many of us, have spent way too much time and way too much money in this sport. So, cheers, guys.
Oh yeah, look at that beard cast, Charlie.
Yeah,
says.
we got some magnificent facial hair going on.
There's a whole lot of beard on this. So I'm just gonna start right off. Open up with some updates. The store is still open. We're open 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. You do have limitations on the store, like a mask is required. 3 people are allowed in the store per staff member. You have to maintain your 6-foot distancing. We have the right to give each customer a time limit if there's a long enough line outside. You have to disinfect before you touch anything. Anything, I swear. And we're doing our Kickstart Extreme sale. We're trying to come out swinging again. So until the end of May, super cool update. We're going to be doing 10% off all items in the store, except for Black Rifle coffee or items that are already on sale.
You know, if there's any coffee left.
If there's barely. People, you guys are clearing us out. We got another order still coming, but
what do you mean, you guys?
Ryan walked in the day. He was lucky. The day after we got our last batch, he just bought the 96.
I bought the supply drop. I bought the supply drop, and you were like, "Dude, that was a quarter of our order." And I was like, "Well, I don't know what to tell you."
Well, that's how it goes. And if you look like you're sick, we're not going to let you in. The store's been really crazy. Like the weekends, even the weekdays are kind of busy, and we're selling a lot of stuff, but we're still getting in a lot of new products. Today we just got the PDW9s by ICS, the S3 models. So they have the really nice MOSFET, microswitch trigger, a lot of bougie things. We have the new gas blowback MP7, which we'll probably talk about later, by VFC, and the Elite 4 CQBs and CQCs. We got some other stuff on the way, but Mike, you want to tell them about the next few things on our docket?
Sure. Here, I think we talked about online orders. You know me. So yeah, online orders processing with no delay. And if you see something in our store but it isn't on the website, or you don't see something on the website and you think it's in our store, give us a call. We'll let you know if we have it in stock, and if we don't have it in stock, we'll see about ordering it for you. We're adding new stuff every day, so message, email, call, smoke signal, however the heck you can get a hold of us, and we will let you know what we have available in stock.
I gotta say, just as a sidebar, this back scratcher's coming really in handy because I'm excessively itchy today. We did have
it's making my back itch, and I'm just trying to ignore it.
We had a Kobe Wan Kenobi, who, yes, we know Zach because he is our employee. I'm gonna. Do we recommend an M4 or an MP5? So, I'll say my piece quick. Me personally, I think the MP5s are really cool. They add diversity, but they're really good for close quarters because they can be super compact. If you're doing a lot of indoors, MP5s are good. Compact M4s as well. Like, either of them are really solid. And you have just about the same amount of upgrades, but you can have more variety in M4s than you can MP5s.
Yeah. Basically, that's my opinion. It's a balancing act. I mean, you can hold more mags with an MP5, but the MP5 is meant as a close quarters weapon, so putting a longer barrel on that isn't easy
or feasible. Zach is your dad? That's cool.
I think...
Yes.
If it's your first airsoft gun, I'd say an M4, just because, like they said, you've got a lot more options with an M4. I'll disagree with Chili a little bit on the range thing, only because these things are all basically muskets. They all have about the same range,
Glorified
realistically
musket,
speaking.
airsoft.
Um,
Hashtag glorified muskets.
but between those two options, I think your best bet for a starting gun is going to be an M4, because the only MP5 I'd recommend are the Elite Force Elite versions that have the Avalon gearboxes, and those are running like $300 or so, which is not like a entry level cost. So I'd say an M4 if you want a good baseline gun that you can do a whole bunch of stuff to without spending a whole bunch of money on it.
There you go. Boom. So that was just something short just to address. I feel like there's something else. There's more stuff, but I feel like
There always
we're
is.
good. So how it's gonna go is let's just start talking about some super cool stuff. Today, if you didn't read, our topic is gas blowback, baby. We're gonna be talking about what there's a reason that I selected this topic with our gracious guest Ryan. It's because he's probably our gas he's our gas tech, but he also has
Probably
gas
he is
station
the
Is there
gas
something I need to know about, Dan?
You're just like, who's Dan? Who is Dan? Building a musket. So we're gonna just jump in. So I'm
gonna try to not have that come up, because the less I have to think about that, the better. Right now, we're gonna go with something that isn't such a niche kind of thing.
I think we need to talk about it because of what you just
We're
said.
not gonna talk about it right now.
Sensitive. So we're gonna start from just the ground up, because I know that we have some people in the chat that don't even own a regular airsoft rifle, so they won't even know what a gas blowback rifle is. So I'm gonna open up primarily. I always open up to our guest first, Ryan. So how do gas blowbacks work, and why would you? I mean, you run plenty of gas rifles, or even pistols, really. But why do you run them? What do they do, and how do they work?
Okay, so in a nutshell, and I'll cover gas non-blowbacks here as well. In a nutshell, gas-powered airsoft guns are the most realistic you're going to get in terms of airsoft, because they use a self-contained magazine that contains your BBs and the propellant to fire them. So much like a real gun with actual bullets, either a gas blowback or a gas non-blowback are generally going to have some form of propellant, either CO2 or green gas, contained in the grip of the magazine, and then the magazine is going to hold the BBs, and it's going to be just its own self-contained little package. You're not going to need batteries or a spring or anything like that. The primary advantage is just the realism factor. It's a lot more fun, honestly. It's every single time you pull the trigger. Well, let me back up. Non-blowback, real quick, is same process, but you pull the trigger, gun fires, nothing else happens. A gas blowback, which is the topic for tonight, functions exactly like the real thing. So you take here, I got a broken one right here. Gas 1911. You take the mag, you put it in. You have to rack the slide to actually fire it, and then every time you pull the trigger, the hammer will drop and the slide will cycle to load a new round. This is the most common system for pistols because it's the most efficient. You can't really cram like a full-size gearbox into a pistol frame, so 95% of the decent pistols on the market are going to be some form of gas blowback. The disadvantages are much like the real thing. They do require maintenance. They do require cleaning. And then they are temperature dependent. So like an electric gun, you can run it in at pretty much any temperature, any weather, won't really be an issue unless it's like pouring rain outside. A gas gun doesn't really care about the weather quite as much. Gas guns will run rain, shine, snow, whatever you want it to run in. But the colder it gets outside, the worse they're going to run, especially with stuff that runs off of green gas. If it gets below like 50 degrees, you'll be lucky if you can get half the magazine out before the gas reservoir is completely empty, just because of how physics work.
Science.
Physics. Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed green gas, anytime it gets below 50, those guns get miserable. And CO2, I'd say about 40.
CO2 is better. You can kind of do CO2 to like around freezing, generally speaking. It'll still work totally fine. The flip side that CO2 has a problem with is CO2 is a dry gas, so it'll dry out your O-rings and whatnot as you fire. So CO2 guns require a lot more maintenance, and because CO2 is higher pressure than green gas, it'll wear your parts out faster. So you'll need to like replace parts slightly more often with CO2 pistols than you will with green gas.
See, that's something that people don't take in mind, like, I mean, for people in the Northeast, normally for a lot of pistols, like when they come to the store, I mean, most of us, I would figure, recommend mostly a CO2 powered pistol when they're like, well, what should I get that's going to be the easiest to use and I won't have to worry so much? Usually you're like CO2 pistols, but there's the trade-off that even though it'll run better in a variety of temperatures and environments, that you do run into the potential that you will have to replace parts. I didn't even think of that. Sometimes you just don't even think about stuff.
Yeah, so it's like if you get like WeTech's a good example. Because WeTech make green gas and CO2 magazines for most of their pistols. However, not all of the pistols WeTech makes CO2 magazines for are actually designed to run with CO2 in the first place. So, like, if you get, say, one of the very, very old gen WeTech high kappas that wasn't designed with CO2 in mind, and you run nothing but CO2 through it, you'll end up having issues like cracking nozzles, slides could split. Generally the hammer mechanism is going to be fine. That's not really going to make a difference, but it's generally like where your nozzle is that's going to be the failure point on most gas pistols.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had a high kappa that just physically wouldn't use CO2. I load a CO2 mag in, it'd do and then dump everything out of the mag and just a
fork.
Yeah.
The flip side is sometimes you'll get pistols.
Yay.
Yeah, and the flip side is sometimes you'll get pistols that just run no matter what. Like if you guys remember a couple years ago when I was running those WeTech Cutlass M9s, the really long slide M9 with the fake ivory grips.
I forgot you had those.
I still have the original one I bought. I put thousands of rounds through that, bone stock. No, I never replaced any parts. It finally broke one day. You know what broke on it? The trigger spring from overuse, and it still worked in single action.
Hey, you know what?
They were still just in. Yeah, so it's like gas pistols can be durable. But it's just parts break on them generally faster than they do on AEGs. So like maintenance is going to be something you're going to have to keep an eye out for.
But the cool thing, I think, one of the pros, I mean, you've worked on enough guns that you would know, but one of the pros for guns like WeTech gas blowbacks, there's such a wide aftermarket for upgrade and replacement parts that you could essentially rebuild the whole gun and it's brand new and the thing's going to run amazing. Right?
Yeah, so unless you go with like a gas revolver or some other kind of like semi-exotic platform, if you're sticking with like M9s, 1911s, high kappas, like the basic model pistols, this is for kind of everybody, but especially for like WeTech, is that you're always going to be able to find parts for them. A lot of guns when you go researching gas pistols, a lot of guns, if they say Tokyo Marui compatible, then they're going to be able to fit 95% of the replacement parts that are on the market for that particular model of pistol.
Yeah. Yeah, and you definitely want parts support because, having your gun break and then not being able to do anything about it really sucks. I had that happen with the WE-G18, like the original ones, and the trigger sear on that broke, and I was just like, Yep, this is a hunk of junk now.
Congratulations on your new paperweight.
I was gonna say, most expensive paperweight ever. other than a PTW.
I will say this
Gotta
though about it. While it worked flawlessly, and I used that in negative, like in snowing, like in a snowstorm, and it still was able to go full auto and finish the mags.
Okay, but I could say the same thing for the PTWs.
When they work
Yeah,
great.
but mine only
when
cost
they don't, they're
$100.
Yeah, there's the flip side to that one.
done. Well, so if somebody wanted to get into like a gas blowback, we'll start with the rifles, as we can talk about pistols too.
Whew.
What brands or specific models would you recommend that are like you can get replacement parts for, or ones that are just kind of the least headache that you can
All right,
get?
and this is for
I'll
rifles.
start with Ryan.
This is for rifles specifically?
Rifle specifically.
Okay.
Right
Rifles are kind of their own different beast as far as gas blowbacks are concerned. That's a really hard question too. I'd say it's primarily going to depend on how much money you're willing to spend on the rifle, because
So
what you have to keep in mind.
We'll say the budget's like, to get a gas gun. I mean, it would probably be good to throw like, let's say $350 for a budget,
Okay.
maybe.
So here's the main drawback of running gas guns is $350 is going to be more than enough money for whatever pistol you want and 2 magazines. That would be my standard recommendation on what to carry for a pistol.
Mm-hmm.
But a gas gun's going to need, if you're planning on if it's like a pickup game, you can maybe get away with 2 extra mags. If you want to use it like extensively, you're probably going to need at least between 4 and honestly 10 extra magazines, because the magazines are only going to hold like 30 to 40 rounds a piece.
Mm-hmm.
And those magazines are going to be $30 to $50 a piece.
Right. So let's just say base rifle is $350 is the budget. We can figure out mags later, but if you're 400, we'll say $400 rifle setup. What are your top 3 go-tos that you'd recommend for rifles, submachine guns too?
Okay, so $400 budget, ignoring the cost of extra magazines.
Yeah.
In order, my 3 choices are pretty much not going to change. It's going to be KWA MP7 as number 1.
Smart.
Number 2 is going to be probably some form of like WeTech M4. Because you can use that extra because they're only like $250, but you can use that extra money to upgrade it with like steel parts for durability. Mm-hmm. Or if you just want something that's going to absolutely work out of the box for $400, literally anything made by GHK.
Facts. GHKs are pretty.
GHK is basically the gas blowback rifle version of the Avalon and Crytek lines.
That's a good comparison. Me personally, I know I have mine's getting fixed right now because I was irresponsible with it and
I gotta
take care of it.
Yours is still on hold. I didn't realize until a couple days ago that I had actually brought my magazine output valve key back to Extreme, so I have to pick that up so I can actually fix your magazines.
It's all good. But I have a GHK rifle. I use the GHK G5. And honestly, it was last year at Shock Op in New York, and it was like, I was running SAW on a turret most of the day in the Humvee, and I don't remember what my other gun was, but I think I was having issues. I just didn't want to use it, and I was like, well, it's like a milsim op, so I've got 4 mags for this GHK G5 that I traded, and I was like, maybe I'll try running that. So it got to a point where it was like torrential for like, I can't even, it was torrential for like a couple of hours. So like I was running that GHK in that rain. It was like freezing cold, but like people were scared. And we were in the Humvee. I had to pull it out to use it, and that thing clacked. It was so loud. But that GHK, even with the green gas and the temperature, really just like ran. Like, it's so solid in the rain. I probably should take more care. Take care of your. The number one takeaway is take care of your gas stuff. Yeah. I mean, as cool as it is, like, it's super. I'm super. super limited.
Like they'll stand up to a fair bit. Honestly, I would say they'll probably stand up to more abuse than an AEG. Like they're not really going to care if you dunk it in a pond or like get it covered in dirt, as long as the chamber is clear. But it's that post game maintenance you got to keep aware of. Like you should always keep a little bit of gas in your magazines to make sure the O-rings don't dry out. Always always clean and oil the firing mechanism. Not like after every single game. Like I think the only times I ever field strip my gas stuff and like do a full body clean on that stuff is like maybe twice a year. It's very they're low maintenance, but they are still maintenance is what you have to remember.
What about you, Chili? What do you recommend for a couple? I mean, you might not have. I don't even know if I have 3 in my head. I thought about it, but you say gas.
Number 1, KWA gas MP7. It is besides pistols, it's my only gas blowback, and CQB. It's lethal, and actually even outdoor with this low power bolt, you can do a lot of damage with it. Now, I'm not big into like the gas blowback rifles just because I don't use gas blowback a lot. I have my pistols and this KWA, and that's it. But if I was going to get one, GHK, because AK gang. And this isn't really a rifle per se, but it's kind of flirting with the whole pistol PDW subcompact thing. I'd say the GTP 9 / the SMC 9, just because the SMC 9 it's got enough FPS to last you in some outdoor places, and it's light, it's compact, and I mean it's effective.
I'll give you a technical pass on that one. You barely pass through that. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but me personally, like, I mean, I think everybody that's been in the sport for any amount of time, like a decent amount of time, has at least owned or used a KWA MP7. They're just so prolific, and they're relatively affordable as it comes with gas blowbacks. SMGs are a really great option because if you're indoors, you're probably, you're not going to be shooting as much, which is one of the things I was surprised. The first time I ever ran a gas blowback was a KWA LM4 that my friend loaned me, and I had 4 mags. I was like, okay, so I got 120 rounds to, do work in this game. And I was nervous. I was like, am I going to have enough? Dang, it's the Rona. It's attacking me. I'm dying. I was like, I have 120 rounds. Like, normally I'd go through at least like 4 mid caps. Like, I'm like, I used to fire a lot, but I was like, oh, I'm kind of nervous for that, And then so I went out and I went through like a mag and a half, and I was like, really? I didn't go through like. Yeah. You're just number one thing is you're so much more. Even if you go out there with like 2 magazines, like you're so much more conscious about how you're expending your rounds. You're just like, and also they're loud sometimes too. Like that GHK is super loud. Like we were in the Humvee, I pulled that thing out to engage dudes, and it was like clack 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 clack, and the dudes were like, oh, other dudes in the Humvee were like, oh my god, what is that? And I was just like, oh,
the voice in our head has a couple of fun stories about gas blowbacks, aka his gas blowback UMP, and the terror it used to cause when he was out in California.
When it worked.
I gotta say,
it's like a Lancia. When they work flawlessly.
What's a Lancia?
I will say,
R.
Thank you so much, Chuckles.
If you don't have an app on your phone, you're wrong.
Piggybacking off of what Chuckles said, I would say that's one of the biggest things with gas blowbacks is I firmly believe that running gas blowbacks at least occasionally will make you a better player at airsoft just in terms of your overall like shooting ability. Going on to knowing, like, even if you're not thinking about it throughout the entire game, stepping onto the field knowing, okay, I only have like 300 rounds for this entire match, or like 100 rounds or whatever. Knowing you only have that much ammo, you're going to find, even if you don't consciously think about it in the match, you're going to take more care with your shots. You're going to do better, you're going to have better shot placement, better ammo conservation. It's just, you're not going to go on the field just spraying every single corner. And I really do believe that it makes you a better player. Like, because you're not just going, well, I'm just going to throw a 120 round mid cap in this direction. If I hit somebody, that's great. It's like, because it's like, I have 30 rounds. And if I have to reload, that's several seconds that some dude with a 120 round mid cap could round the corner and dump it at me. So I'm not going to fire until I know somebody's there. And then when they are there, I'm going to double or triple tap, make sure they're out, and then move on to the next target. So it really helps you like practice, like not overshooting dead players, making sure you're actually shooting at something you can hit and stuff like that.
Interesting. So
I definitely agree.
Also, I did think of a fourth gun.
Ooh.
I do not recommend buying one because there is no part support for it. But if you come across one playing, you owe it to yourself to at least ask them to let you shoot it. The gas blowback vector submachine guns.
Yes.
I must.
You have not known true. Like, there are only 3 guns in my life. There are only 3 gas blowbacks in my life that I have shot it and just had pure joy on my face. The KWA MP7, because it's an absolute tech driver. The Vector, because it's just amazing fun. And then the WeTech Thompson M1A1, just because it's so much fun having that big bolt going.
That thing is literally like, that thing was bad. I remember you letting me fire that thing. I remember when you first got it, you were so stoked.
I still have yet to shoot it.
Provided it is, I'll have to do some maintenance. It's been kind of just sitting in my car ever since I moved out of my apartment. Provided it is working, I will. If I swing by Extreme this weekend, I'll bring it with me so you can shoot it a little bit at the at the chrono.
So I have a question then, Ryan. What do you? I see me, the new player who may not know anything about airsoft. What's up with dudes that like are running? What do you think of dudes running HPA in their gas guns? What are your considerations for that? Like, is there anything bad about it? Like, what do you think?
From a player standpoint, I have no issue with it because you are taking, if you're running an HP, if you're taking, so they make tap line, they make basically like CQB Russia makes like basically tap valves where you pull out the fill valve of the magazine and you install basically a tap so you can run an HPA tank and line to it, like what Chili has right there.
Wow, right there.
Now, the primary advantage.
I got all my guns next to me.
Now, the primary advantage of that is you negate the main drawback of CO2 of gas guns, which is high HPA is not really temperature dependent. It'll run pretty much no matter what the temperature is. The flip side to that,
I've run it in 0.
The flip side to that is twofold. And it's one of the reasons why I'll never run a tapped gas rifle. Number one, it significantly slows down your reloads because you're still going to have a 30-round magazine. And now, instead of just being able to drop the mag free and slap a new one in, you have to unhook the line, pull out the magazine, put in a new mag, and rehook the line. And that it doesn't sound like a lot, but just like in real life, especially if you're running a gas blowback on an airsoft field, seconds count. Number two, and as a tech, I've seen this. Number two is and this is especially with the rifles because they're just a larger package. If you have a line hanging from your magazine and the fill valve is right at the bottom of it, like just out and about, that's not a very wide like area. And it's a very large stress point. So like if you go prone or knock that line into something just the right way, you can just shear that fill valve off at the base of the magazine. And now you have a paperweight and a fill valve stuck in your tank that is now dumping all the air out. Those are the two main drawbacks I can think of to having tapped magazines. It's not as bad on pistols because generally a tapped pistol, it's going to be closer to your body. It's not going to be quite as bulky, but from a personal standpoint, at least with gas blowbacks, that's the main reason why I personally wouldn't consider tapping a magazine. Now, there are aftermarket parts where you can and it's kind of difficult. And I'm going to use the KCO2 as an example because it's the only one I know of off the top of my head. But there's an aftermarket part for the KCO2 called a Tanuki mag adapter. And basically what it is it goes right into your magazine well, and it lets you use AEG MP5 magazines.
Right.
But but it's HPA tapped, but that entire system is inside the mag well, and it's got like a tube that comes out with the actual nozzle attached to it. So that it allows it to flex instead. So you don't really have the potential issue of having that snag on something and snap off. The other issue is a durability thing that I just remembered. It's if you're running an HPA rig, you can set the PSI to whatever you want, and that will scale the FPS accordingly. Well, if you run it at a pressure that's higher than what the pistol was designed for, you're going to blow up the pistol. I see this happen all the time with high kappas specifically because high kappas are only designed to run it with green gas. Green gas is only like 80 or 90 PSI. If you run the HPA
sounds about right.
at like 5, 10, 20 PSI higher than what green gas is, you're going to I've seen catastrophic failures on high kappas where there was one time I remember I saw a kid, he was running his high kappa at like 115 PSI. It was doing like 350 on the nose with 2 5s. And the entire back half of his slide shattered and flew off the back of the gun while he was shooting. It was, I think, if I remember correctly, it was a mix of the chamber pressure was too high, and it was also one of the older. It was an older mod. It was an older gen gun that was known to have like micro fractures on the back of the slide in that particular point. But it's still the fact that because it was higher pressure, it put more strain on the system, and the system had a catastrophic failure because of it.
I think another consideration too is when you see a lot of the HPA, the people that HPA stuff, especially pistols, but you'll see it on like MP7s and stuff. They'll run the drum magazines or really large magazines. So the consideration I think for that you need to also think about as a player is now you have a drum magazine where you have 1,200 or 2,000 rounds that you can put down range, and you're suddenly mentally, subconsciously, it's this weird thing that happens where now you have more ammo, so you're going to fire more often. But they're not AEGs. Gas blowbacks are not made to be fired like 500-600 times in a match. Like that puts an exponential amount of wear and tear on it. That's buckings and stuff like that.
That's a double down too. Thank you for bringing that up, Chuckles, because the other problem gas blowbacks have is cooldown. So cooldown is if you fire, it's very simple. It's just if you fire too many mags too quickly out of gas blowback, the expanding gas, CO2 and green gas is basically just propane without the egg smell and a little bit of like lubricant to keep the O-rings oiled. If you fire them too quickly, when those gases expand, they cool. So what will end up happening is if you fire too many magazines too quickly, you'll cool off the entire firing system, and eventually you'll cool the nozzle and the magazine to a point where it'd be the equivalent of like if you're trying to run the gun in like 40-degree weather. So the quicker you fire a gas gun, the less efficient it's going to be, which also plays into the make every shot count because you can't afford to dump magazines, because you can change a magazine, but that's still not going to change the fact that you're going to need like 20-30 seconds for the gun to warm up enough that you can keep firing.
Right.
Also,
and that's why
chat, Mister Joe, I'm incredibly jealous of the fact that you have a Viper Tech. Those are like the holy grail of gas blowback rifles. So Chuckles and Chili, if you're not aware, Viper Tech are basically take an American PTW but make it gas blowback.
Yeah,
solid steel body.
What's his name? Scout the Doggy did a video of it. I remember I saw it a long time ago.
Scout the Doggy on YouTube. If you check it out, he had somebody brought a ViperTech M4 to the field. They ran it over with a van, and it still shot totally fine. I'm not quite sure about your second question with the realism. I mean, propane can be optimized given between map gas or ice pick valves or just hand warmers to be near HPA. Is it worth the backup in line and realism? It's kind of up to you. If you want, you can either have it more efficient or more realistic. As a player, I lean all the way over onto the max realism side. I've also seen an equal number of players lean over towards the backpack and line side. On the flip side of that, from what I've seen at like ops and stuff, the backpack and line setup for gas blowbacks is generally reserved for like CQB events and stuff like that. Generally, if you see anybody running a gas blowback outdoors or at a Milsim event, they're going for the realism, and they're going to have one notable memory of mine is there's a guy runs green at Stag Ops' seasonal violence games. He has a full Russian kit, GHK AK with real wood furniture. He runs it with 10 gas magazines and an AK.
Oh, that's expensive. That's like $400 in mags or more.
But it's
an AK what?
He runs an AK. He runs an AKM with real steel furniture and an AK pattern GP 104 grenade launcher. I think it is.
Oh.
Yeah. Full grenadier. Grenadier. He even modified the GP grenade launcher to put a tagging shell in there. So instead of having to cram the AK style ones in, all he has to do is cram tagging rounds in the front of it, and he can just yeet them off. It's amazing.
Ryan, you better introduce me to this man so I can just like ogle over his gun.
I have not seen him in a couple of years, but if I do see him in a seasonal,
we need to find this man.
Oh, yeah, and Charlie, you are correct. Pretty much any indoor field you go to will not allow propane because basic safety. It's like we won't allow propane, for example, because we're an indoor field, and if someone's using propane and there's an actual propane leak in the building, it's very hard to tell the difference.
That's true.
Yeah.
So if anybody has any questions about gas blowbacks or anything, just open it up, comments below.
Yeah.
We're covering a lot of that's good. I like that's what I like about this is we can kind of go off and it's not too.
I like that we're mostly going into rifles and not pistols because pistols is kind of a plenty talked about topic. Rifles is usually a lot.
Everybody talks about they're like pistols.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, I think we're gonna do our product spotlight for the day, which is the VFC MP7 gas blowback Gen 2. So as you can see from these beautiful photos on the screen, they literally just dropped this like I think last week. The Gen 2, I know it has some improved internal parts, but the primary thing that they did is the outer barrel rather than being plastic like on the old Gen 1 and on the VFCs, the AEGs. The barrels are aluminum rather than plastic. So taking off the orange tip is a lot better, and you're not going to destroy your barrel and airsoft gun.
Yeah.
And that's where, that's one of the things. But, safe semi-auto, fully ambi, the things, it's the Navy, so it's MP7 Navy, so it's 1-to-1 with the real thing. It has a,
there's a noticeable difference between
tri-rail. 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, all rail. Right above the flash hider included, it's an Allen key. You can pull it out. But if you twist it, it adjusts the hop up. So rather than needing to lock the bolt back, grab your little tool, the tool's integrated and it won't go anywhere. There are O-rings holding it in. They retail at like $299. So like for the price point, they're great. They shoot about 340 for FPS wise. But like I got to fire.
Did they lower the FPS down?
Yeah. So
nice.
So actually, the issue that they had, and it's kind of the same with this one as well, that I noticed was even on the old gens, like the first 2 or 3 shots of the MP7, the VFC, is that they shoot, you're like 370, 360, 350, and then it levels out at like 335, 340, which is really bizarre to me that happens. But like that's just, it happened on the old gen ones too. But once you get it there, like it's consistent, like the recoil on them, on the VFC does an amazing job with all of their gas builds. Like The recoil is just clean. It's crisp. It doesn't try to jump out of your hands like some uncontrollable anything.
But that's half the fun.
So
they're
now
cool.
Here is one thing that should be pointed out. The difference between the KWA and the VFC MP7s, because they are different and it's not just the looks. The KWA is smaller. VFC MP7s are actual 1-to-1 scale to the real MP7. The magazines are larger and will not fit in the KWAs, and vice versa. The KWA magazines will not fit in the VFC MP7. So that is something to be aware of. That is something to be aware of if you're going to buy one.
We did a comparison video probably 2, 3, I think it was 3 years ago. We compared the KWA and the VFC. It is larger. The magazine's larger. We were able to get more like air out of it. So there are trade-offs because the KWA is cheaper and replacement parts are also pretty easy. Upgrade parts especially too. The VFC is going to be a little bit harder. They do make replacement parts kits, but there are other things that can't. But it does have standard 11 mil positive, I think is what the MP7s use. So that's pretty bad.
Just be careful taking the flash hider off of them.
Yeah, just don't over torque it. I believe they're counterclockwise thread if I'm correct. So it's a righty loosey, lefty tighty.
I gotta say, Green Gas. Oh, Master Joe said Green Gas releases silicone oil where it shouldn't really be. Most notably, bucking swelling become less effective.
I'd say,
in my experience, I mean, I'll let you guys say, but in my experience, I've noticed that the primary issue with buckings like swelling is when silicone oil is applied directly to the bucking and gets inside of it. That's when it swells. I mean, in my I don't know about you, Ryan. I know you've changed.
I am going to agree. I am going to agree with you. I've never seen a bucking swell specifically from using green gas. It's always been because, for some reason, a lot of the older generation manuals for gas blowbacks was like, oh yeah, you want to spray silicone oil into the hop up. Don't do that. It's a really bad idea. There's not really a solution for green gas because the trade-offs for using propane exclusively are worse than green gas exclusively, since propane is going to dry out all your O-rings, and replacing all the valves and O-rings in a magazine is a lot more expensive than replacing a hop-up bucking. If you are concerned about that, all you have to do is basically, once you're done playing, open up the gun, take a Q-tip, and just swab out the hop-up bucking to just dry it off a little bit, and then you'll be fine.
Big smart. We got some big brain energy going on here. You guys, these are nuggets of information every week. Take with you into your...
Yeah. And also, pro tip for anyone who has a KWA MP7, they are great guns. Don't expect to take the trigger out.
Please, I am begging
us to.
If you show up at the store with the trigger pulled out of your VF7, with the trigger pulled out of your MP7, and you expect me to fix it immediately, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I am begging you, never remove the triggers from the MP7.
For Ryan's sanity, he's grumpy enough. We don't need him to be any more upset with the customers than he already normally is.
I want to argue that, but it's just so accurate.
All right, so I'll just if anybody has any questions or comments, yes, I love any oilless gas, green gas does exist. Can I not use Elite? Can I use not EF at Extreme?
As you can use so I know what I get what he's saying. It's can he use green gas from other companies besides Elite Force? Absolutely. Yeah. They're basically all exactly the same thing. They're just different. It's just different packaging. The only difference is if you have Nuprol, Nuprol. They're made by, I believe it's OEM'd by WeTech. But the last time I had heard anything, they were having difficulties Nuprol was having difficulty shipping their products into the States because they kind of from word through the grapevine from my other techs is they kind of let the paperwork expire and then never really renewed it. Nuprol comes in 3 flavors. There's 2.0, which is green, 3.0, which is red, and 4.0, which is black. And the difference between them is basically The higher you go in number, the higher pressure the stuff is. It's designed to let green gas guns operate in lower temperatures. So like Nuprol green is standard green gas. 3.0 red is slightly higher pressure for lower to let it operate in a wider range of temperatures. And Nuprol 4.0 black is the highest pressure. Do not run Nuprol black in your pistol. You will blow it up. I know that from experience. Because I have a WeTech PX4 that just as an experiment, I ran nothing but Nuprol black through. It made it, to be fair to it made it about 4 or 5 months of semi-regular play before the nozzle completely shattered into like 5 separate pieces and flying out the top of the gun. Nuprol black is specifically, Nuprol red and black are specifically designed for rifles. You can run Nuprol red in pistols at lower temperatures, but I don't advise running anything higher than Nuprol 2.0 in a handgun if it's more than like 70 degrees outside.
And
they do all still have silicone oil in them, but it's very, very small amounts. Again, I'd argue there's probably not enough silicone oil in green gas to actually cause your bucking to swell unless the bucking had like water or something else on it on top of that. If you're playing outdoors, you can run propane without an issue. Just I would say maybe every like 3rd or 4th refill of the magazine, swap the propane for green gas to keep the O-rings lubricated. Propane can be used outdoors without an issue in any green gas gun.
Yeah. And I was going to say, we're also forgetting about the other end of the spectrum. So Nuprol's stronger, the stuff's weaker. Duster gas.
Oh, yeah, duster gas. Duster gas.
Yeah.
Duster gas is an interesting beast because I know it's really, really common as a propellant in Japan, but that's because guns out of Japan like Tokyo Marui, Maruzin, if you have a Tanaka, God bless you. But they're designed for duster gas, which is very, very low pressure. If you run green gas in a plastic slide Tokyo Marui or something like a Tanaka or a Marushin that's designed for duster gas, you will break the gun.
Yeah.
We got a question for Charles. Quick, we're going to start wrapping it up here. We've been going for a bit. Which GHK would we pick? AKM, AK-74U, SIG 553. The SIGs do look badass. However, I will probably opt for a 74U. Most of what I play is indoors, and it's a little bit of barrel length isn't really going to break me, but I just love the look of the 74U with the wood front end. And
I will see the SIG 553, and I will raise you the WeTech / Umarex G3 gas blowback.
Yep.
Wow.
And Alpha, I believe I already responded to you in the Discord on that. We can put the Glock I can put the Glock carbine kit on your Glock when you get it. Chili, you'll have to answer that second one.
Second one, I totally forgot.
Yeah, the Tanaka revolvers.
Thanks for reminding me, and I am still angry.
The Tanaka revolvers aren't going to be quite as big a deal with the green gas or propane, but you will still have to be careful of like the fill valves and the O-rings because they're also designed for duster gas. They're not designed for green gas, so you might end up having a leak at some point.
All right, let's close this up. Everybody, just as a reminder, the store will be open 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. We're still processing online orders. And there's like no delay because we're there pretty much every day, even on Monday sometimes.
Yeah.
Everybody who came in yesterday, I got my eye on you. They came like we were there filming it.
How can we see the voices in our
head? They were like, "Oh, what do you mean you guys aren't open?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's on our website. It's on our Facebook.
I don't know.
It's on our everything."
We've just been closed on Mondays every single week for 10 years.
Exactly. It's been this. It hasn't really changed a lot. So, but the store is open. We are answering Facebook and Instagram.
Alpha,
and
no.
Responding to emails, and we're still processing orders. We're still ordering new stuff. We do have limitations on people in the store. Remember, we're doing the Kickstart Extreme Sale, 10% off everything in the store until the end of May. So starting June 1st, we won't do that anymore. But come in, check out all the new products we're going to have coming in. Check out the new deals. Order something. We have a lot of stuff. It's great to see all of the customers that we've been having come in. It's great. And I feel like today was good because I even took away some stuff today. It's always interesting to, I've been working, me and Ryan have been working together. Like, it's literally been 4 years that I've been at Extreme now.
Oh, God, it has been 4 years.
Right?
Oh.
So we've been working for so long together that sometimes sometimes you forget that there's sometimes things you can still learn. So that's a good life lesson to take with everybody. Is that no matter how long you're doing something, there's always, like, every day I work at Extreme, I learn something new about airsoft and airsoft guns. Yeah. So take that with you.
Every single day I tech at Extreme, I learn something new to hate about airsoft guns.
That's true. If there aren't any more questions from anybody?
Also, as a reminder, our tech department is still open at this time. So if you have a broken gun, you can bring it in for repair. Just keep in mind, I can't speak for Matt, but Stefano and I are both essential employees, so we do still have our full-time jobs during the week. So we can only really get into Extreme on Saturdays, and even then it's kind of hit or miss. So you can still bring in your stuff for repair. Just please be aware that there is going to be a delay on how quickly stuff gets done, just because Stefano and I can't be there. In what little free time we have, we cannot be there 24/7 fixing stuff. So if you have a gun, bring it in. If a store staff knows can diagnose it, then they can at least give you advice. If you need to drop it off for repair, then you can absolutely still drop it off for repair. And we are still doing upgrades, but as of right now, I think repairs are kind of taking precedent over upgrading guns because we do want to get repairs out first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, we want to get you guys shooting.
Yeah.
So we're still cranking. So we still have teching. We still have our store open. Don't ask when our field is opening because we don't know yet. Hopefully in the next few weeks we'll have a better idea. We'll see how the phases are going with the state itself. We'll see what happens. We're going to restructure things. Make sure you keep your mind up. Keep your heads up. Everybody, thank you so much.
Also, check out the Discord. Check out the Discord. Yes. We have a Discord.
So if you don't already, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us here on YouTube. Go check out our Discord. Normally, Decoy will throw the link.
And Mr. Joe, short stroking shouldn't be a problem on a pistol as long as you're still maintaining the correct PSI. But you will still put more wear on the gun because you are arbitrarily stopping it before its recoil is finished. I've never seen a rifle short-stroked, so if you can figure out how to do that, more power to you. But I've seen plenty of short-stroke pistols, and they seem to run totally fine as long as you're not trying to crank the PSI.
All right, so I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you, Chili. Thank you, our glorious guest, Ryan. Really appreciate you guys coming out and helping us out and passing on. We'll post a link to the Discord. It's on our Facebook. It's on our Instagram. It's something. We'll get you the link.
Keep the memes PG.
Keep the memes PG. Yeah, I swear.
We do still have younger kids on the Discord.
We're going to be doing live streaming for gaming, and we're going to do stuff like we did a Let's Play, or we did not a Let's Play. We did like customers versus Extreme staff last week, which was moderately successful, I would say.
I'll have to re-download Arma 3 for the next time you guys are running it if I'm around at that time.
We got to assemble a full crew to mess up some Arma.
I have not played Arma 3 in years. I don't remember any of the controls, but I still remember how to point and shoot, so we'll be good.
You're beautiful too. Isaiah, Charlie, we love you. We love you all. You're all beautiful people. Yeah. Stay well, stay blessed, keep social distancing. Make sure you stay safe. Stay kind. Be nice to everybody out there working, risking their biscuits for the bread. Keep the world going. Buy some airsoft stuff. Bread. I have a special airsoft gun coming tomorrow to Extreme. So,
oh, you do?
See. I do.
Yeah. It's not something that I'm going to be wasting money on, is it?
Oh, there's a Discord link. No, probably not. Maybe. No. But anyways, all right, guys. Other than that, I think that's it. It's been your boy Chuckles,
Chili.
Ryan.
and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.